House of Representatives advocates suspension of new CBN policy on cash withdrawals. House calls for continuation of East-West Coastal Rail Line project. And House urges fast track of oil exploration activities in the Bida Basin. Always a pleasure to have you join us on You and Your Reps. I am Victor, as a welcome. Let's begin by telling you that the House of Representatives wants the Central Bank of Nigeria to suspend its policy on cash withdrawals billed to take effect on 9th January 2023. Now, this resolution was adopted after Representative Magaji Dawu Aliyu raised the issue as a matter of urgent public importance.
Plenary commenced with the reading of a presidential communication seeking approval of the budget of the Federal Government of Nigeria Power Company for 2022. Then came the motion on CBN's new policy on cash withdrawals, which was greeted with avalanche of concerns as lawmakers point to likely consequences.
The directive of Central Bank has been generating serious uproar and given law business owners serious concern since the said release of the said circular.
Thousands of Nigerians now have come to live and do businesses through the POS. It's going completely with the introduction of this.
See, the governor is behaving as if he's more powerful than the president, than the National Assembly. Policy after policy have been rolled out. People have not settled on one. You are bringing another. You set timelines that are completely unreasonable.
Elsewhere, where this happened before, Mr. Speaker, the SMEs died completely. Will lose value on the common man on the street. Bread sellers, farmers, micro-entrepreneurs, their business will be eroded within a short run.
If you want to stop banditry, make it impossible for them to have cash.
So you're speaking against the motion?
There shouldn't be cash available.
The House has invited the CBN governor to brief the House.
The House statutorily is supposed to be receiving these briefings from the governor, even before such policies are brought to bear on the economy.
The prayer is for the appearance of the CBN governor before this House.
Other features at plenary include the consideration and approval of bills seeking the establishment of Federal University of Education Katsina-Ala, sponsored by Richard Bande, and the Federal University of Health Sciences Ilorongun from Femi Fakeye. 9 bills were read the third time and passed, among them bill to establish Nigeria National Commission Against Proliferation of Small Arms and Light Weapons in line with ECOWAS Convention.
To coordinate and implement activities to combat the problem of the proliferation of small arms and light weapons in Nigeria.
Meanwhile, the House has urged security agencies to do more in stopping security breaches in parts of Gombe and Benue states.
Meanwhile, leadership of the House of Representatives is appealing to host communities in the Niger Delta region to ensure adequate information is provided to statutory security agencies to sustain the significant strides in the war against oil theft. A special delegation of the House, led by Deputy Leader Peter Patterson, gave this indication during a fact-finding visit to the creeks of Oporoza in Baramatu Kingdom.
It is the legislative stakeholders' engagement. The motive is sustaining the onslaught against the termites, eating the source of the nation's revenue through oil theft. From Wari, the journey into creeks began, but safety is a top priority, as life jacket was handed over to everyone. 75 minutes in the face of water turbulence, the delegation arrived at Oporoza, the traditional headquarters of Baramatu Kingdom. Then the discussion. It was frank. Leadership of the House of Representatives recognized the collaborative effort of government, statutory security agencies, and other individuals in the protection of the nation's patrimony.
We appreciate the improvement of security in this sector as a result of the role that yourself, working with the security such as Navy and other government forces, to ensure that there's sanity in the oil and gas, producing, communities, particularly to address the issue of oil theft.
To be more specific, the door is closed to media cameras. Coming out of the executive session, both the host and members of the delegation are optimistic that more grants will be covered.
I will not disappoint you. We will do our part this way, and I still want all of you to do your own part over there.
We understand the challenges that we are facing is very enormous, and meanwhile the effort that have been put in place are also encouraging, and we must appreciate the efforts put in place by the government and those that have been assigned to carry the responsibilities.
And if you ask me, and wherever it is and whoever that is willing to know will agree that improvements have been made. Production have increased. We can now confidently say that we are meeting up the OPEC quota, and it will continue to rise.
For the delegation, the gain of the last few months is worth every effort to sustain it.
The House of Representatives wants the federal government to continue the implementation of the East-West Coastal Rail Line project as approved by the Federal Executive Council in 2021. The call was in response to a motion from Representative Dozie Nwankwo on the project, contract of which was awarded at the cost of $11.1 billion.
Representative Dozie Nwankwo told House members that the 1,400-kilometer-long standard gauge rail line has a 6-year completion period, but that the Federal Ministry of Transportation stopped work on the project this year.
Inability to complete the project within the projected 6 years period will continue to put pressure on the two seaports located in Port Harcourt and Lagos and the existing roads.
House members noted the socio-economic importance of the project, which will link several states and cities across the southern parts of the country by rail. Other features at plenary include the approval of 559 billion naira statutory budget for the Nigerian Communications Commission for 2023. The House passed for second reading bill to amend Child Rights Act by introducing the imposition of sanctions on any parent that abandons a newborn child or absconds after birth.
And upon conviction, be liable to fine of 200,000 naira or imprisonment for 6 months or to both.
People abandoned on the streets, and so is seeking for punishment.
11 bills were read the third time and passed, among them bills to establish Federal Medical Center Aguza, Federal Medical Center Okigwe, and Federal College of Nursing and Midwifery Chibok.
In another development, Nigeria could have additional 40 billion barrels of oil reserves by 2023. Going by studies that reveal presence of hydrocarbon in commercial quantity in the Bida Basin of Niger State. The House of Representatives seems positive about this and has asked the Ministry of Petroleum Resources and the NNPC to fast-track exploration activities.
It was an exciting news for House members coming after the latest finds in Kolmani, as Representative Saidu Musa gave the narration on studies in the Bida Basin, which showed a strong presence of hydrocarbon-bearing indicators, confirmed as oil and gas formations.
The discovery of oil in another region of Nigeria is good news for the country's energy sector, and that if the volume of oil in the Bida Basin is established and the exploration activities commence fully, Nigeria may in the near future overtake Libya, the country with the largest oil reserve in Africa.
The House urged fast-tracking of exploration to ascertain the availability of hydrocarbon in the basin. The motion from Yusuf Gagdi urging implementation of acts of the National Assembly in relation to upgrade of colleges of education to universities was supported.
Mandate the Committee on Appropriation to substitute the Federal College of Education budget, since they don't exist anymore, for a aforesaid Federal University of Education.
The President has signed an act of parliament and they are not reflecting it. You do the proper thing by making sure it's reflected. But you also have to find out the conditions precedent.
Of course, with this synergy, We alone in the parliament cannot make law execute for the good governance. We need the collaboration, and it is a collaboration with the executive that have brought us to where we are.
The budget came with the old name. Now you can chalk that down to a mistake. There's an act of parliament signed by Mr. President. There's nothing to investigate. Just change the name to what it's supposed to be.
Bill to establish Federal College of Education, Jingri, Plateau State, sponsored by Muhammad Al-Ali, and bill to establish National Institute for Entrepreneurship and Innovation, Okota, in Lagos, from Abiodun Johnson, passed second reading, while 3 bills were read the third time and passed, among them bill establishing the Nigerian Peace Corps.
I'm here on behalf of the Peace Corps of Nigeria, the over 187,000 members of the Peace Corps nationwide, thank the leadership and members of the National Assembly to have given a face to the yearning and aspiration of Nigerian youth.
Now, notice of motions is a common document of the Nigerian legislature, but it is one that is of huge significance. So, what is the document about and what purposes does it serve? Let's find out.
Every week, Chairman Rules and Business issues a notice paper. It is called notice paper, or what the House would consider within that particular week. It is issued in advance to give members enough notice to prepare themselves against the bills and motions that will be presented. So it is normally issued on Mondays before the sitting of Tuesday. So once you are informed in advance that within this week, so number of bills will be considered, so number of motions. So if you are the type that would like to make contribution to those bills, you now instruct your staff to make research for you with a view to preparing you adequately to make contributions on the floor in respect of that particular bill that you are interested in. If you don't want to debate anything or any motion, if you don't want to debate that matter, that's all. It's up to you. But it is the notice paper goes every week to notify members, informing members of the bills that will come up for consideration that particular week.
Campaigns are now in full swing ahead of next year's general election. What has been the mood in the field, and how receptive has the electorate been of politicians? The member representing Ezza South, Ikwo Federal Constituency of Ebonyi State, Chinedu Oga, shared his field experience with you and your reps.
There is a very good mood. It's only that the demanding is too much. We politicians are really in trouble because everybody want to eat in that pot. He want to benefit from you. He want you to assist him. We are not executive. We only appropriate and oversight. So, but we'll continue doing the one we know we can do best. And it's going well because people are seeing what we that are near to the grassroots have done. And that's why they believe in us. They believe what we have told them. The truth of it is that all what I promised my constituents, I've done it more than I did other ones. What they are telling us is that it's not when they elect me, I should change from what I'm doing. I should continue. So it's a bond. I will make sure I continue from what I'm doing.
And still on the electioneering campaigns, we spoke with ordinary Nigerians on their assessment of the process so far. Let's hear them.
The good development I have noticed is this introduction of Vivas, which give the populace hope that in terms of ringing the election, even if it might not be perfect, but at least there's hope that even if you want to ring the election, it won't just be that easy.
For the political parties, some are not, we don't even know some of them, we don't even know their manifestos, we don't know what they are what they want to offer Nigeria. Their campaign promises this period have reduced because they don't have nothing to tell us anymore.
Youth actually bringing out themselves to even fund campaigns is one of the good things I've noticed about this whole election coming up.
I think this is the first time Nigerians are realizing that politics is not a game for a particular set of people. It is all encompassing. We believe now more than ever that the power is in our hands. People are going out to get their voters card. People are actually asking, what does it take to be part of this process?
We are taking it not just on the street, we're taking it also on social media. Everyone is going out, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Snapchat, everyone is just going out there on social media. So that's one of the good things I noticed about the development of the election.
Now it's more intellectual, like you get to hear them speak, and we obviously know that some of them are running away from interviews and all of that.
My fear is actually if the men with the guns will actually allow the masses outside to vote on that very day.
The Court of Appeal sitting in Owerri has reinstated the member representing Ikwano, Umuahia North and South constituency in the House of Representatives, Samuel Onuigbo, as candidate of the All Progressives Congress for Abia Central senatorial election. In what is a major test for the new Electoral Act 2022, the three-man panel of justices led by Justice Rita Pemu, in a unanimous judgment, ordered the Independent National Electoral Commission (INEC) to recognize Onuigbo as the winner and authentic candidate of the APC for Abia Central Senatorial District. Onuigbo, sponsor of Nigeria's Climate Change Act, has been speaking with you and your reps on what this development means for democracy.
I think what played out at the Court of Appeal is that they were able to look at the things that were required for you to have a successful and valid primary election, which in this case, and in line with Section 84(1) of the Electoral Act 2022, is that a party that is seeking to nominate a candidate for election under this Act shall hold primary elections for aspirants for all elective positions. And such primary election shall be monitored by the Commission, which in this case is INEC. So that's precisely what we did. So it was really a surprise that the Court of First Instance, in this case, the Federal High Court Umuahia, now closed its eyes to the report of INEC evidencing my victory and proceeded to say that they did not see evidence. So the Court of Appeal was able to examine these things thoroughly and then made a finding, a valid finding that, look, Sam Onuigbo was validly elected, as the candidate of APC for Abia Central Senatorial District. And that individual whose name was used to substitute mine never participated in the primary election. So those were the valid findings, and that's something that's as clear as daylight. It was an opportunity for the act to be thoroughly and deeply examined and subjected to test. And the test is that, look, it is not the same old pattern where one person would run for primary election and then another person would just emerge from nowhere and be used to substitute the person who stood for election. So that's what this Electoral Act has cleared. And that's why at every opportunity, I like to commend first the National Assembly, for, passing this act. And then second, the President for assenting to it, because I know a lot went into this. The chairman of INEC should also be commended, because I know that for us to get here, apart from different people sponsoring the bills in the House, we had a retreat in Lagos on the 5th of March. I was there. And at that retreat, it was chaired by the Deputy Senate President, His Excellency Onuigbo. And we resolved there that we were going to repeal the previous electoral acts, the one 2010, 2015, that we should repeal them and enact a completely new act. That's why this is Electoral Act 2022, not as amended. So on that 5th, the chairman of INEC read his speech, detailed speech, and pointed at some areas that needed to be addressed as we work on the act. And we took those things in. And I also want to tell you that apart from that meeting, that retreat on the 5th of March 2020 in Lagos, we had several other, engagements. And so when we finally did the clause-by-clause consideration of the act, we had INEC represented by one of its national commissioners, Barrister Festus Okoye, and a team of other people from INEC. We also had the Ministry of Justice represented. I must tell you that we used to start 9:30 in the morning and finish around 10 p.m. because we were doing line-by-line check. And those little loopholes that some people used to exploit in the past, and which they used to, introduce some confusion into leadership, those little loopholes were seen and, taken care of, blocked. So that's why the Electoral Act 2022 is a major, electoral legal framework that we don't have to joke with. So my advice has always been for people to read this act very well so that they don't create confusion within our electoral system. People are no longer going to come and tell you, stories and then tell you, vote all these people all the way. It's not going to happen because they realize that votes now count as a result of the power of the Electoral Act 2022. Of course, we saw it in Anambra, we saw it in Ekiti, we saw it in Osun State. So that way, the race is on your own. You are on your own race. You have to be able to say, this is what we are going to provide, this is what we are going to do. And once you have a good party, for instance, you have a party that is projecting quality individuals, one from the presidential candidate to the gubernatorial, senatorial, federal house, House of Assembly. You are in a perfect state to campaign and say, look, we're going to do 5/5. But for some parties, I'm of the APC, for some parties that, have some difficulty, it's going to be difficult for you to come and say, everybody 5/5, because when you know that the other individual has a lot of baggage that has the potential to drag everybody down. So you have to campaign on what you are likely to do, what you promise to do, and what you believe you can do, because the people are likely to vote for you, and those individual votes will count this time around. That's the success. That's the achievement of the Electoral Act 2022. It has altered the campaign pattern to a large extent.
Indeed, the Electoral Act 2022 pulling its weight. And that's where we leave it on you and your reps for this week. We thank you for your company. I am Victor, as well. Let's do this again, same time next week.